Welcome to Life Mastery Radio with Todd Allen and Jackie Bailey, the show that dives into the science of higher consciousness with inspiring topics such as abundance, intention, health, manifestation, love, and transformation. Join Todd, Jackie, and their guests of leading authors, speakers, coaches, and entrepreneurs weekly at 10 a.m. Pacific. Learn to live a peaceful life with intentional mastery. It's all right here with stories and messages to support your well-being and most evocative dreams. Now, here's your hosts, Todd and Jackie.
Hey, it's another groovy day, and most of you know, but I'm going to tell you anyway, that's because it's Life Mastery Radio Day. One of my most favorite Tuesdays of the week. I get to hang out with my good friend Jackie. We have a great time, and we bring you some fascinating guests that are on the cutting edge of their own becoming, ready to push you off your own edge with their thoughts and ideas. That's what we're here for, and that's what we're going to introduce you to. Life Master Radio, the talk show that brings you great thoughts and ideas for you to use on your very own life mastery journey. As always, I have my co-host with me today. She's bright, sunny, ready to go, big smile on her face. And
people are going to think we're doing an awful lot of pushing people off of ledges here if we're not careful.
You think that's a little bit too far? I don't know.
No, I don't know. I'm just saying.
It's pretty funny, though, and it's true. I think it's true. People are just standing on the edge of their own becoming, and they don't have the ability, or nor do they have the know-how to just jump and try different things. And so that's the visualization I was trying to throw you there.
Yeah.
How are you today, my friend?
I'm good. Lots of things are cooking. I found out yesterday that I'm going to be on a game show, an actual real game show on ABC.
What's the name of it?
It's called Get in the Game. But the interesting thing about it is that it's going to be filmed on Zoom. So we had this audition session, and they had the immersive application in Zoom available. So they had created it so it looked like a big board that you might see on other game shows where there's all these people sitting in these rows.
Oh, like Hollywood Squares. Remember Hollywood Squares?
Kind of like that, yeah. So it looks like that, and there's going to be a yellow team and a blue team, and they compete against each other. And there's maybe some trivia. There's a lot of pop culture references to music and personalities and things like that. There might even be some humming or singing, dancing perhaps. So it's just a show. The objective is to make people happy and make them smile in this day and age where sometimes we forget reasons that we have to smile. So
I am amazed that you are out there rubbing elbows with people every week. It's something new, a game show, a talk show, the list goes on and on.
It is just about who you network with and who you meet. And I mean, I just go to these groups and someone introduces themselves and I'm like, oh, I got to know that person. And so we'll start talking and then find out, hey, there's this opportunity here. And it's fun. And then, of course, I keep my ears and eyes open for kids' opportunities all the time. And we've got some students now coming. They'll be speaking on the Family Matters Summit on May 15th, which is in coordination with the United Nations Day of the Family.
Wow.
And so it's going to be broadcast from Azerbaijan. I'm not sure if I said that correctly, but it will truly be a global summit. Yeah. And we've got some kids that will be speaking from Ireland and some from Australia and from the US, of course, as well. But it'll be a fun event for the kids to get on stage for perhaps the first time.
Can you imagine being 13, 14 years old and speaking on Zoom to the entire world, right? That was just things of imagination when I was a kid, and now it's a reality. And it can be any kid, right? Any kid with a passion that wants to talk about what they're passionate about.
That's it. I don't want just anybody saying, yeah, I'll get up and speak, and then they don't have anything to say. I mean, we got to know that they've got something specific they want to talk about, and that they, as you say, are passionate about it. That's what we need to see, and it's their opportunity to share that. So we do a little coaching beforehand, make sure they're comfortable and ready. A lot of these summits are not necessarily delivering a speech. It's actually an interview process.
Right.
So the kids go in having chosen a subject matter that they want to talk about and some bullet points that they will be referencing, and that gives their interviewer an opportunity to have something to ask a question about,
Right.
right? But then the kids can tell their story, tell their experience, and do that while answering a question at the same time. And they just build so many amazing skills that you don't really think about until you see it happening live before.
Yeah, the return on investment will last them the rest of their lives. And I didn't figure that out until I was like 45, 43, somewhere around there. It's crazy. So
Yeah.
give a kid a boost. Yeah. If you want to find out more about Jackie's programs, you can go to speakfeedlead.org, or you can just Google Jackie Bailey. I mean, there's stuff that will come.
Yeah, hopefully all good stuff. I don't really have any skeletons in my closet, but you never know.
She takes up the whole Google page.
Yeah, JackieBailey360.com. You can find all the ways to connect with me there.
Yeah, she's not the real estate agent, so don't go down there.
Houston. That is not me.
I want to remind our listeners that today's show page is at www.lifemasteryradio.com. You can go there. Any links that we have about our guests are already there. And if there are any new ones, then we'll put them there. And later on the week, Jackie will create a blog post about today's show with more links and her take, what she got from the show. And it's really cool. She does a great job. You could sign up for our newsletter and get that blog post in your email weekly if you like. And the link is right there on lifemasteryradio.com. Both of our books are there. You can check out our books and surf around. We've got well over 400 shows, I think, now on YouTube, and all of the listings are there. You can search through, and man, we have some interesting topics, don't you think, Jackie?
I totally think it's time to do a book. If we did a compilation book with all of these amazing guests that we've had and just create a chapter about their story, getting their permission, of course, but I think that would be really cool. And I mean, we got some big headliners that have been on our show that would draw in a lot of curiosity, I think. So,
you know, I've been wanting to try my good friend AI.
Yeah.
Have you played around with that yet? Chat GPT?
I've done a little, you know what? I had Chat GPT write some swipe copy for me, which is something that you'll send someone who's willing to promote some of your programs for you. They'll get the swipe copy and then they can use that, customize it, and then they send it out to their network or tribe. And it was beautiful. I mean, I am not a copywriter, so when I used that Chat GPT for that, was amazing. I also had it search for me for some associations related to youth. Oh man, huge lists. And then I can say, well, how about with the web addresses as well? And then of course it retypes it and there's all the web addresses, so I can contact exactly who I need to. It's pretty amazing. I mean, otherwise you spend hours on Google.
I know.
Searching for the same thing.
I'm gonna have to get tuned in. Okay. I think that we are clear of housekeeping and general chat and giving our guest a chance to breathe and get ready. She's probably ready. Look at her. She's got a big smile on her face. Yeah. Today's guest is brought to you by Jackie Bailey. That means that Jackie Bailey has the introduction. Take it away, Jackie.
I do. I recently met Stephanie. I don't recall at this moment where that was, but it doesn't matter. But I'm happy that it happened because she is a personal development specialist. She's a master certified life coach, and she's got a master's degree in psychology. She's also a former investigator for the Department of Family and Protective Services and a retired investigative sergeant from the Houston Police Department. She has got a lot of stories to tell us, I'm sure. She has 11 years experience as the student, the patient, and the coach. She teaches women how to break the cycle of negative thinking, manage their expectations, and create better boundaries so they can start living the life they truly want. For our listeners, Stephanie is offering a free one-on-one coaching session, and in our newsletter, and will also be in the blog, I'll send you that link so that you can schedule something with her. And she facilitates a course that shows exactly how you can break the cycle of negative thinking, and it's called From Fear to Fierce. So welcome, Stephanie Freethy, to Life Mastery Radio. It's delightful to have you with us.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
So wait, if you see somebody that looks like me wearing a wig take you up on your free offer, don't blow my cover.
Okay.
Todd likes to get in touch with his feminine.
I'll be like, you look familiar, but I can't really place you. So
Yeah. Okay.
How high can your voice go, Todd?
I have a pretty low voice, but it can go up there too. I'd have to shave my beard, I think. Oh, you know what? We're in a different time today. I could probably get away with it.
You could probably get away from it. There probably would not be too many questions asked of you.
Okay, Stephanie, you have a broad range of experience and careers. And how did you get involved with being a police officer? That is just that's cool stuff, I think, and we need more of that.
oh no, we don't. No, we don't.
Well, and did that come before schooling, before you had a degree in psychology, or afterwards?
So okay, going all the way back to the beginning.
All the way back.
The X-Files
Okay.
is the reason I wanted to be an FBI agent.
Wow.
And so that's where it started. I just thought from like the 6th grade on, I want to be a profiler for the FBI. That would be great. And I got my bachelor's in criminal justice. And then I was like, I realized that I didn't qualify for the FBI because they have like 5 categories you have to fit into, like a foreign language. You have to be really good with computers and stuff. And the only one that I could do was 5 years in law enforcement. And I was like, I don't want to be a police officer because I grew up in a very, very tiny town. So I thought police officers literally just sat in their cars all day and wrote speeding tickets, because that's what the police officers in my hometown did. Because I mean, there were 1,000, it was a population of 1,000 people.
Wow.
Not a lot to do. So I was like, that is the last thing on this earth I want to do. So I was like, okay, I'll just go ahead and go straight on to get my master's degree. And I didn't know what I wanted to do it in, but I love psychology. And I was just like, well, maybe I could still be a profiler. So I got my master's in psychology, but during that time I started suffering from major depression. And I was like 3.5 hours from home. I didn't know anybody up there. And so I just went to my thesis chair and I was like, I've got to get out of here as quickly as possible. I can't do this anymore. And so going on to get a doctorate was just like, that dream was out the window. And so I actually got my master's degree in a year and 2 semesters, which is kind of unheard of. Yeah, I was flying because I was like, I just need to get out of here. I need to go home. Yeah. And then I needed a job, and I had applied for the Secret Service because they were hiring, and I qualified for that. But that hiring process is like a year, and someone finally convinced me, go be a police officer. Even if it's for 6 months, you get some experience, and then hopefully the Secret Service will take you. And I ended up not getting into the Secret Service, which I eventually realized I really don't want to do this anyway. And by that time, I had already been in the academy with the police department for a couple of weeks, and I was just like in love because I just realized in a big department all the different avenues you can go down. And I was like, this is so cool. And I was just like in love with it. And I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do.
So what department did you end up serving in first, or most favorite?
I was in patrol for about 3.5 years. And then I went into an investigative division that was specialized in that we would respond to patrol if they were on an active scene. That way we could go out and get interviews and collect evidence and everything all right away as it was happening, and get charges on the suspects. So it was all kind of very, very quick and very active. And I did that for 5 years. And then I decided to promote, and I became sergeant. And then I worked in the jail for a year. And then I went into robbery division for another almost, gosh, what's my math? Several years before I retired. So I was in robbery division in the end.
And that was investigating robberies, or?
Yeah. I was an investigative sergeant. So I had officers underneath me. I had a squad assigned to me, but I also did investigations as well.
And I get the feeling that you advocate for women, right? Am I getting that right?
I do now. Right. That sounds kind of bad.
So, no. So there was an influence in the police department of seeing, you know, the victims and the crimes against women that kind of clicked in your head? Or
No, actually, it was pretty much like my own experiences in life that kind of got me to this point. I actually hated being a police officer. It's a horrible profession. It's incredibly stressful. The internal politics are horrendous. So I pretty much despised spending 13 years of my life doing that. But
Well,
at the same time, I was like,
living knowing that you're going to be lied to like all the time, right?
yeah, well, it's not even, and I think that that's greatly misunderstood, is that it's not, the problem is not the citizens and the crime, it's inside the department. It's the internal politics. Your job is not safe. You're just a number. And we go to work every single day knowing that we are not appreciated by the people we actually work for.
Yeah. That's sad.
And that's what was so difficult about it was, you know, if you work for someone that you love and they appreciate you and treat you very well, then you like your job.
Yeah.
You hear stories of, man, I would do anything for my supervisor because my supervisor takes care of me. And within the department, it's unheard of. There's zero trust. Officers don't trust each other. I mean, it's just a very, very toxic environment.
So it seems like maybe there should be more training like the military does, where you have to trust each other or you die, right?
I think that's trained into us, because when it comes to actually being on the street, we're all wearing the same color. We're all on the same side. So most of us know, like, I have your back, you have mine, because this can be life or death out here. So it's really not so much about that. It's more about the leadership in the department. And I did an entire podcast interview just on that. We talked for an hour, and I could have talked for like 3 hours just talking about everything that goes on inside the department and everything that would actually have to change. Because the public thinks so much of, you know, the system is broken, cops are crooked, whatever. But so much more of it is the leadership within the department. Like, the leadership has to change. It's not as simple as, well, they need a training for this. Well, yeah, we're going to go sit in a classroom for 8 hours, but that doesn't change the culture.
Yeah.
And
like I always say, we don't always get to know how we don't want to be until we get there.
yeah.
And I think it's being recognized nationwide. So you jumped off that ship. Was there something that pushed you, or was there another shiny object?
No, I fell victim to internal politics. And I decided I'm not going to sit here and beg for my job when I didn't do anything wrong. And y'all are just trying to make an example of me. Like, this is, no, not going to do it. And I was very sorry. There's a fly. A fly just landed on my nose. Okay. For the people who can't see. So I was very fortunate that I was in a situation where I could leave. So I chose to leave without a backup plan. And then I kind of discovered like life coaching. And I was like, well, this is interesting. Let me go learn about that. And I got certified in that. And around this time, I'm 40 and I'm in a toxic, miserable marriage. And I'm 40 with like a 1-year-old.
Wow.
So it's all of these kind of things just collided. And I started realizing that other women in their 40s are kind of feeling the same way. Like, I've lived this first half of my life doing what's expected of me, or based on what society tells me I'm supposed to want. But what do I want?
Right.
And it seems like we don't get it. It doesn't happen until we get into our late 30s, early 40s, that we start to stop caring what society expects of us or what other people are expecting. And we're just like, but what do I want? You know what? Like, I'm tired of this. It's like we just hit a breaking point where we're like, okay, this is enough. I'm ready to start doing something for myself. And so it just kind of all like unfolded on its own. And now I'm here helping other women in their 40s figure out the same thing.
Yeah. Now, how many other women were there in the police department with you? Were you a minority?
I couldn't tell you for certain. I know, like, for example, my class in the academy, there were 50 of us, 6 females. And that's kind of how the classes are in the academy. It is still primarily male. It's definitely not anywhere close to 50-50.
Yeah.
But that didn't really seem to be a factor
Okay.
that stood in the way based on my experience.
Yeah. Good. Okay.
So you became a life coach, and you really got into that. You really liked that. What was it about life coaching? Because that's a hard market to break into. You know, my philosophy about life coaching is the person that benefits the most from life coach training is the life coach themselves.
It is. And that's how a lot of life coaches end up being like, man, I want to help other people do this, because it's so transformational for us as we're learning it, the skills that we learn. And then we're just like, oh my gosh, this was life-changing. Now I want to help other people do this.
Yeah.
Because
And
when I originally started doing the life coaching, I didn't know what I was going to do with it. It wasn't until I started learning all of the skills and stuff that I was like, this is incredible. Because I had been through years of therapy. And one of the things that I realized talking to other people that have been through therapy, particularly women, is that we talk about the problem a lot in therapy.
Yeah.
But there doesn't seem to be a plan or a solution, or where are we going? There's not like a goal or an endpoint. You're just talking about the problem. But with what I learned with the life coaching skills, there actually is a solution. And it teaches you, at least the way that I learned it, it teaches you how to dig down and get to the why am I like this? Or why do I think this? Why do I feel this way? And then, okay, now how do we fix it? And then there's a solution, and then there's a plan of where do we go from here? And that's why I fell in love with life coaching so much, is because there's actually a way to get past it. And I love that, because now another part of why I created my course and my program is because my therapy was free through the police department. I didn't have to pay for it. But now that I left my career and for a while didn't have an income, it was like, well, what if something happens and I want to go back to therapy? I can afford it. But part of my why with creating my course is I want to teach this to women who can't afford therapy or don't have access to therapy. And, you know, as long as it's not like something serious where they would need a licensed professional, I can help them get over the first hump, and then I can teach them this framework, and now they can help themselves. And that's my big why, because I look at where I am today and look back on my life, and I'm like, I don't even know where I would be right now if it wasn't for all the years of therapy. I don't even know who I would be right now.
So Stephanie, you've mentioned that a couple times now, and if you don't want to go down that road, be sure
I'll go down any road. I'm good.
But so you mentioned that you had some depression at one time, and then you've said toxic environment around work, and now therapy. So is there something from your past that this life coach healing helped you to maintain and get through?
Yeah. I didn't actually. So I was in a toxic marriage with a narcissist. And it wasn't until I started kind of like reading up and learning about narcissism that I was able to look back and go, oh my gosh, my mother's a narcissist, which is crazy because she's not like I guess, overt narcissist where you can, like, it's not obvious. But I was able to look, and I mean, we're talking, I'm 40 years old, looking back and going, this answers so much.
Right.
So many questions of why. I was able to like stop thinking it was me. So that was a big thing, was being able to look back and be like, okay, well, I was raised by a narcissist. I grew up in a home with no emotion whatsoever. We didn't talk. There was no communication. I grew up for 18 years, never, ever, not once hearing the words, I love you.
Wow.
And the interesting thing I realized is that even though to me, not hearing I love you was normal, I can now look back and see how much that affected me negatively. Even though I didn't know it was a normal thing, not hearing it was terrible for me. I wasn't
At the
held, I wasn't hugged. We didn't talk about our problems. It was just, I lived inside my head because there wasn't anyone else. And I was bullied in school. So I didn't have friends. I literally was just in my own head. So I've been depressed most of my life. It just hit rock bottom when I was in grad school.
Got it.
Were you an only child?
No, I have a brother that's 4 years older than me. But something that I've become aware of with narcissists is that often a narcissist raises a narcissist.
Mhm.
And
Well, you
it's
have
like,
no choice. That's where you learn your attitudes, emotions, and behaviors from, right? It's just
yeah,
automatic.
you model what you learn. And it's also a defense mechanism. Like my ex-husband, I remember the day he told me, that when he was like 10 or something, he just decided, I'm going to turn off my emotions because I don't want my mother to hurt me anymore.
Mm.
I'm not going to allow her to hurt me. So I'm going to turn off my emotions. And that's who he is today. He's emotionless, but he also learned those skills of control and manipulation from her.
Yeah.
And so that is who my brother has been, my entire life. So we didn't have a relationship at all. People find it very hard to understand how I can have a sibling and I don't feel loss in my life that we haven't spoken in years because we never had a relationship. We lived in the same house and it wasn't even like we were roommates. We didn't talk. Our parents didn't make us talk. He bullied me. We had a toxic relationship my entire life. So I don't feel a loss in my life not having him being in it, because to me, that was a toxic relationship from the get-go I needed to get rid of. I do feel a loss in the sense that I see other people in the relationships they have with their siblings, and I feel that loss of
Yeah. You
what
grieve
would
for that.
what would it be like to have had a sibling relationship like that and to still have that relationship today? Like my daughter has cousins that she will never know.
Right.
But
Right.
but at the same time, I've learned that my true family is in a lot of my friends that I have today, which is a lesson that I will teach her. It's about the people you can trust and you can count on. Those are the ones that matter.
So it's because of an exploration of yourself that you realize you don't have to buy into that. That doesn't have to be a part of your story. It is your past. And so by becoming a life coach, this created this huge transformation in your life that you now want to share with others.
Yeah. Because there's so much pressure from society to be a certain way or belong somewhere or whatever it is. And the greatest freedom I have realized is in just not worrying about that. I don't have to have this relationship with my family because, it's blood, it's family. Well, no, not if it's toxic. No, I don't.
Yeah.
And you don't have to
And there's so many things we are taught in our life that are important that really aren't important.
Right.
We get to decide that for ourselves. I get to decide what is important for me. Who can I rely on? Who do I want in my life?
Right.
How do I want to raise my daughter? Do I want her to raise her a certain way to believe all of these societal expectations? Or can I raise her to say, what do you want? Who do you want to be?
And just showing her healthy boundaries and what that looks like, right?
That's actually part of my course is I studied boundaries only to realize that I had none. And to learn that our boundaries are formed in the first 3 years of our life when we don't even have memory of the first 3 years of our life, but that's when our boundaries are formed.
Yeah.
And that was just like incredibly eye-opening to me. Like it was another one of those moments where I was like, no wonder I'm this way. But in all of this,
I don't have to be this way.
Yeah. But in all of this self-exploring and all of these things that I'm realizing, it's freeing me. Whereas several years ago, I was living as a victim. In my head, I was a victim. Why me? Why is this happening to me? Why was my life this way? Whereas now I'm just like, I'm not a victim. I am free.
Yeah.
I get to be whoever I want to be. I get to do whatever I want to do. I don't have to please anybody else. I'm free.
Do you find, Stephanie, that your experience as an investigator in the police department has also served you in investigating little bit more about yourself and who you are, or even the women that you coach, that you work with as a coach?
It
Have
certainly
you
helped
thought
me.
about that?
Yeah, it certainly helped me. So because I grew up with zero communication,
Mhm.
being a police officer made me start talking to people,
Mhm.
which was crazy. Like I
Yeah.
had to learn to be nosy, which is what I tell like my fellow coaches that I was going through the program with. I'm like, just get nosy. You have to be comfortable with being nosy and asking questions, because especially in the police department, people don't want to answer your questions. It's like pulling teeth, and you
Yeah.
have to just ask and ask and ask and ask, and why this and why that, and get all of this information before you can go, okay, now I can piece it together. So that definitely helped. And then I think it's just kind of something that I have, is like this sense where I can sense something deeper
Yeah.
when people say something, and I'm just like, okay, wait, like, why is that? Okay, well,
Empathy.
why is that? And then we can start digging. And then it's like my client, you can just see their body language change
Mm.
when we hit that root thing that's going on,
That's
because then
the fun part. Yeah.
yeah, because instead of them not knowing how to answer questions, all of a sudden they know how to answer everything, and their demeanor changes, and they may even start crying because we've finally gotten down to that root.
Yeah.
But that's the incredible part, is that whenever we can find that root, that why is all of this happening, which is a lot of times is in the past or even childhood. Once we can explore that and start working on that, then everything else just kind of falls into place, which is great. And they love it, because that's when they're just like, oh my gosh,
Most
like this is life
most
changing. This is incredible.
right. Most clients will tell you what the problem is. You just have to listen, right?
Yeah. And some of them don't. Like I often have to call my friends and my other life coach friends and have them coach me, because I get so inside my head exploring myself that I can't even like see the tree for the
Mm.
forest. And I'm just like, then they'll start asking me questions, and then they'll hit it, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, like I wasn't even anywhere close to why I'm
Mhm.
stuck right now. But
Wow.
they can pull that out, which is
It's great to have a family like that, right?
yeah, exactly.
So what I find with most life coaches is once they really get in the groove and get in touch with themselves, it's a never ending growth potential, right? You
Yeah.
climb one hill and you look forward and there's another hill to climb. So it's a really cool sense of accomplishment. But what I was going to say is most life coaches seem to attract a certain clientele. So what I'm picking up on is your clientele maybe are women that don't know how to roar.
Did you say roar? Yeah, or at least women who are ready to roar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Women who are, in that late 30s or early 40s or wherever, and they're just tired of banging their head against the wall or laying in bed at night saying, I'm unhappy. Why am I unhappy? Oh, now I feel guilty that I'm unhappy. Why can't I just be grateful for what I have? Because that's what
Mhm.
everybody's telling me. I was like, no, honey, no.
Yeah. I told my husband once, I said, if you were to pull out the dictionary and try to find the definition for mom or mother, it would say see guilt. Because as a young mother, if you're not contributing to the family finances, you feel guilty. If you are working outside the home, then you feel guilty because you're not with your kids. And so there's really no way that you can win. So you get to a certain point where you go, okay, I don't like where I've ended up here. And I don't like having to feel guilty about making accommodations for everybody when I don't get any accommodations made for me. And now is my time to do something for me, right?
Yeah.
So what do you start to suggest is the first step for these women that you work with?
So the first thing I do with everyone is the first one-on-one coaching call, where I just kind of say, where are you at? Where do you want to be? What are you struggling with? And just getting the brain dump, exploring what's going on. And then we can do one-on-one sessions. And what I like to do with those is pick like the 3 primary things that if we work through these 3 things, it's going to make other things in your life easier or go away or whatever. Like, what are your 3 big things? And so we work through those 3 things. And then I also have the course. And so once we get their foundation, their big hurdles over, then I actually teach them what I do. So the framework that I've been working with for them, I now teach it to them, because my big thing is, I don't want you to need me forever. I don't want you to have to go to therapy forever. I want you to, as soon as a thought enters your head, like my kids got a bake sale and I don't have time to cook anything, I'm going to go get something store-bought. Now I feel guilty because I'm getting something store-bought. You can immediately work through it so that you don't have to feel guilty about it. You can be okay. So I teach them that framework. And then the other parts of the course are, I teach a little bit about the subconscious mind, not real deep, but just helping them understand why these things in childhood are still affecting everything today and how we can fix that. And I teach about relationships, to improve relationships, something I call the rule book, which is basically, we joke around women expecting men to know. Well, you're supposed to know. And what we don't realize is that we have rule books for all of our relationships. The problem is that the person we have the rule book for doesn't know that it exists. So we're getting upset with them because they broke one of our rules, but they didn't even know it was a rule because we didn't tell them. And it creates all of this turmoil and these problems. So I teach about that, and dealing with expectations, because expectations is another thing that we have that other people don't. And as long as we're not able to understand that, it's all about understanding that we have control. So as long as we're expecting something of someone else, they're in control, because if they let us down, we're let down, but it's because we gave them the control to let us down.
Yeah.
And then the last module is on boundaries, and it's actually the longest one because it was just so eye-opening for me and so incredible to learn that when we set up boundaries, proper boundaries, it's just so in depth. I wouldn't even know where to start. But one thing that I learned that really surprised me, which I've seen with some other moms speaking out publicly about, is like forcing our child to go hug grandma or to let someone else hold them. And what I learned, which I found so incredibly interesting, and I'm so glad I learned it now because my daughter's 3, is that we're breaking their boundary. The child doesn't want to go. They don't want to be held. They don't want to be touched by this person. But if we are forcing them to, even though they're saying no, that breaks their boundary.
Yeah.
And it does what we call desensitizing them. So it actually opens them up in the future to other people touching them and them not being willing to say no because their previous boundary wasn't listened to.
Right.
And so it was so incredible to me because I was just like, how many of us aren't willing to say no based on worrying about what the other person is thinking?
Right. People pleasers.
Yes. People pleasers, perfectionists, being an introvert. Why are you an introvert? Well, I'm terrified of what everyone else thinks. And I'm terrified of disappointing people and all of these things. And it's just so many things we have to work through and get over. And we, now that I know about it all, it's so much more evident to me out in the world. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, because we're teaching our children this. It's kind of like the broken teaching the broke, teaching
They
the
learn
ones to be
somewhere.
broken. Yeah. We've
Well,
got to
here
stop
we
the
are.
cycle somewhere.
Yeah. Here we are, Stephanie. We're coming out of this pandemic, and families had to make accommodations for a lot of different things they could have never planned for, right? Are you seeing some common challenges with your clients related to anything like that, where it's, things were shut down, moms couldn't work, and maybe the fathers couldn't work either, kids were out of school? You see anything common that's coming out as an effect or a result of that?
I think the most common one is that companies realized we can let our employees work from home. And so now people are working from home, but they're struggling with the boundaries of,
Right.
like, this is my workspace
Boundaries,
and I
yeah.
need to work, like, because even me working from home, I'm like, okay, well, I can just go throw the laundry in the washer really quick. The dogs are barking. Okay, let me go let the dogs out. And it's just like all day long, I'm being pulled like
Yeah.
this. And then at the end of the day, I'm just brain dead because my attention has been all over the place. And then I also beat myself up because I'm like, God, I did stuff all day long, but did I actually accomplish anything? So it's kind of creating this new routine and boundaries working from
Yeah.
home. That's been a big struggle.
Yeah.
Regimentation is what I would call that. You got to be regimented
Yeah.
in your tasks, and don't let the law of distraction distract you.
Yeah.
Right? That oh, I got to put the clothes in the dryer, or oh, I got to go do this, and you're not focused on what it is you're supposed to be focused on.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I think we found that multitasking is not really a talent, right? It's actually a
Yes.
talent.
Yes. I mean, it's so true because I think the number I heard was like 10 minutes, like to get our brain to switch from focusing on this task to this task takes like 10 minutes. So that's like 10 wasted minutes, just getting our brain to focus from one to the next. And then it creates that mental exhaustion at the end of the day where you're just like, you want to check out. And especially if you work all day and then you're coming home to your family and you're just like, I can't deal with y'all. I've been dealing with people all day. Like, I need space. And it's like, no, like,
Yeah.
You
that's what
deserve a break today.
Yeah.
So what you just described for us is your Feared to Fierce program. So let me see if I get this right. You give like a free consultation, find out what the gist of it is, and then you go into teaching this program. So I'm trying to visualize, is this program a group setting or is it one-on-one?
So I do coaching with them every single week. That's one-on-one.
Okay.
The course they have lifetime access to, but we also talk about that during our one-on-ones to answer questions and work through it. But I have a Facebook community with all of the women. So all of these women are kind of having the same struggles, going through the same life stages. So it's creating this community where they can support each other, realize that they're not alone, realize that it's okay to want more than just being a wife and a mother, and you don't have to feel guilty about that. So it's more of a positive culture. I have like a zero tolerance for trauma and cattiness and criticism and all
So
that.
you monitor that. Is that like an open forum? I mean, can we tell people where they can find you?
I do have a free community. So the community that is part of the course is paid, but I do have a free Facebook community as well.
And they can just Google your name or look you up on Facebook and find out.
I'm trying to think of, it's personal development for women. I think the handle is PD women or PD for women.
Yeah, we'll have to maybe we can figure that out and put it in the newsletter. Just let Jackie know.
Yeah,
That would be
it wouldn't take me but a minute to look it up, but I'll wait till we're done.
To that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So where do you see this going for you, Stephanie? You're obviously helping women to make some inroads and strides toward new authentic
Transformation.
So, yeah. So what do you see? Where do you see this taking you at this point?
Well, my end goal, if all of my dreams come true, I would love to be able to speak on stages so that I could reach more women. And I love books, like I devour books. So I would love to write books as well. That would be my huge end goal. Someone once asked me, and I was just like, if you could take Brene Brown and Tony Robbins and combine them, that's who I want to be. I want to speak and empower women. And I want to light up the world like Tony Robbins does.
Well, I know where you can find a pretty mediocre speech coach.
So do I.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's an awesome speech coach.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And in fact, there is a community I belong to that you should also belong to. It's called Family Circle. And it is a group of coaches that serve families. So moms, dads, kids, grandparents. And so it'd be a great community to belong to, because I have learned as I teach kids to speak publicly that when the child learns better communication skills, it changes the dynamic of the family immensely. And so just that little shift, does tremendous things. And so when a mom, such as yourself, also begins to feel more empowered in their voice and who they are, and they get opportunity to share with more moms, that was a huge part of my healing process, Stephanie, is when I started to realize that my voice actually mattered, and that it wasn't that staying silent was the best thing for me, that all those years when I was told not to say anything, it was not a good thing. I needed to speak out. And so my healing process happened because I was learning how to speak out. And I think that's what you're describing with a lot of these women, is learning how to find their voice again, right? Because they've always been somebody's wife, or they've been somebody's mom. And then where did they go, right?
Yeah.
A lot of these women, I know because I've been there, they don't have time for a lot of friend things. It's not like they can just go away and do a girls' weekend when they have kids at home and a husband, possibly with a job or whatever, and it doesn't have that flexibility. And so you do set yourself aside for a lot of those years until finally it's like, I need something. I need something. So I'm glad that there's someone there like you that can talk them through how to do that best.
Or just be there to listen, right? Isn't that a lot of it?
I mean, the majority of what I do is listening.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, because if they didn't have someone that was actually listening to them, though, they might make rash decisions that may not be good.
Right.
So being able to just have someone listen to you, I mean, that's half the battle, because your kids don't listen. And know that husbands typically have a hard time listening too. In fact, do you remember a book? This was back in 1990s. John Gray, I think was his name. He wrote a book called Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. That was
so popular for the longest time.
It was, and it was revolutionary in the way that the sexes viewed each other, right? Yeah. And my husband and I read that together and had this really funny experience, because we were reading about how he was saying that Venetians, or women, they like to share their challenges and struggles, but they don't necessarily want a solution. They just want to be validated, right? Whereas the Martians, the men, they're the fixers. They tend to be the ones who, if a problem is presented, they're going to find the solution for it. So when a couple is talking about, she's sharing a problem and he wants to solve it, and she gets frustrated because she's like, I don't want you to solve it for me. Anyway, so we were talking about this concept, and this is just one of many in the book. And I said, well, you know what, honey, we have a Venusian daughter and we have a Martian son. And we basically discipline them the same way. Is it possible that maybe we should be communicating differently with each of them because they are from different planets, right? And not 5 minutes after we had this discussion and decided that, well, the next opportunity we would test it and see, what happened. Well, our 8-year-old Holly, our daughter, she was our oldest. She walks in the room very frustrated because her little brother Corey will not let her play the video game. It's her turn, and he's not giving her the game. She's very frustrated with it. Well, before we had just had this discussion, one of us probably would have walked down and disciplined Corey and said, give the game to your sister. It's her turn, right? But because we had just decided that all she wanted was validation, what we said to her instead is, gosh, you know what? Corey can be really selfish sometimes. That's got to be frustrating. She literally, she stepped back and she looked at us really weird, and she goes, what is wrong with you guys? You're listening to me. You're listening to me. That's what she said. And it was funny, but it was also eye-opening to realize that she was 8 years old, and that was the first time she felt that we'd actually listened to her, because all we did is we just listened. We didn't try to solve anything for her, just listened. Yeah. So what you're doing is tremendously powerful for people who just need to be heard, right? They need to be listened to. And then for you to think, well, now I got my voice, I want to get out there in the world. That's really powerful too. So
you think, Stephanie, you've gone through a radical transformation. Wait till you get the confidence of standing on stage speaking to a couple hundred people.
No doubt. I mean, for an introvert who was ignored as a child, bullied as a child, and hate public speaking, it'll be incredible because I do know that I'm an excellent public speaker. You know, it's just getting over that hurdle of
Right.
I have to go stand in front of all of these people who could judge me and potentially bully
Yeah.
me. But that's something that I have uncovered with life coaching is my fear of putting myself out there because I wouldn't even post on social media.
Wow.
And nowadays you can't grow a business without social media. And I was terrified, but I realized I was bullied as a kid. Now I'm afraid to put myself out there because potentially someone could bully me online.
Yeah.
You know, same with public speaking, but it's
Right.
just, you know, I'm excited for it though. 'Cause
Now, do you find too that another element of public speaking is being able to emotionally connect with the audience? And as you describe your childhood being somewhat emotionless, do you feel like that's also a challenge for you, possibly? That
No,
on no,
because
okay.
I
You've overcome that.
actually, I guess I'm, what do you want to call it? One of the success stories of being raised by a narcissist. I don't know.
Yeah,
Because
good.
I taught myself.
To break free.
Oh, are we needing a break?
No, I said to break free. I was
Oh, okay. I thought, sorry. I
My
taught
apologies.
myself to communicate. Because I remember in junior high having my little boyfriends or whatever, like I didn't want to tell them when I was unhappy because I was afraid of the abandonment.
Right. Yeah.
So in like late high school, early college, I started teaching myself to communicate and to talk and to, because I'm an emotional person. I always have been. That's never been a problem for me. I have no problem connecting with anyone on an emotional level
Good.
whatsoever. It was just not fearing the abandonment
Right.
that I had to get over. So, I mean, I'm excited about getting up in front of people and being able to connect with women.
Yeah.
Like I love that because
Yeah.
I want them to feel seen and heard and understood. I want to be able to stand up there and say, like, it's not like I just took a course and like I'm coming up here to talk to you. I've been you.
Right.
And I see you. And
Connecting.
here's how we're going to get through it together.
Sounds like you need to do a retreat too.
That'd be
Bring
amazing.
everybody together in a nice little safe, cozy environment and just chat it up.
Just cry together, just hold each other
There
and
you go. And laugh, watch some rom-coms, you know.
drink some wine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you gotta have that wine.
Yeah, of course.
Oh
Well,
my
where can
goodness,
people
lady.
find you? I'm sorry, Todd. I just asked where people
You
can
go.
find. Where can people find you, Stephanie? How do they get a hold of you?
So very simple. If you can remember how to spell my name, stephaniefreethy.com is my website. And just about every social media is Stephanie Freethy, but all of my social stuff is on my website. So that's the best starting point to find me anywhere you want to go.
Yeah, nice.
Very cool. We have just about, I don't know, 5 or 6 minutes left, Stephanie. And I just want to remind you that the queen of public speaking is right up there in that other square. So if you need some help, she can definitely teach you.
I got it.
Yeah.
Is there anything we're missing? Is there any last minute parting message that you might have, or some thoughts or something that we didn't cover? This has been an excellent show. I've had a blast. I've learned so much, but what are we missing?
I think what I've learned in the last year that I always like to end with is that everything you want is on the other side of fear. I found a bracelet. That's where I learned that phrase, was a bracelet that I wear every single day just to remind myself fear comes first, then action, then courage and confidence, not the other way around. So we have to do everything that we're terrified of first before we actually go, okay, I survived that. I'm all right. That wasn't so bad. Now let's do it again.
See, Jackie, I wasn't wrong. Jumping off that edge of your own becoming, right? That's exactly what Stephanie's talking about. Is most people stand on that edge, and it's just like this magical place, and they just don't want to step off. But that's what you help them do, right? So
yeah.
Jackie, any takeaways? This was a fun show, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know what? I've been one of those 30, 40 something moms, and it was a tough time because your kids are starting to need you less and less. I mean, by the time I was 30 and 40, my kids were, 11, 12 years old, something like that. So they were starting to need me less and less, but I didn't necessarily know what I could do with myself. And so it's a time when it's important to have someone there to chat about things. My daughter is now in that age group, so I know she's a busy person and she doesn't get much time to herself.
She still has young ones though.
She still has the youngins. Yeah, the girls
I
are
mean,
gonna.
they're quite, wait till they turn 12, 13, 14 years old. But of course, she has all her baby ducks and baby kittens and baby chickens that are going to keep her busy.
Got her little farm.
Oh, thank you again, Stephanie. This has been a wonderful show. Thank you for showing up as you, and keep up the great work. You have a lot going on. You've come a long ways. And how's that go? You've come a long way, babe.
A long way, baby. Yeah.
Oh, baby, not babe, baby.
Yeah.
Don't call me baby.
Yeah.
I'm not your baby.
There's a little bit back at it.
Yeah, there's that police officer coming out.
Yeah.
No, that's a person setting boundaries.
Yes.
That's about all we have time for today. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope that you would check out our newsletter. And it sounds like there's an opportunity if you really if you really got in the groove with Stephanie today, she has a free coaching opportunity that will be in our newsletter. So sign up for that newsletter or visit the blog later on this week, follow the link, and you too can have a nice discussion with Stephanie and maybe get to the root of your problem. What's your problem, lady? No, lastly, check out our YouTube channel and check out all of our shows. But that wasn't lastly. This is lastly. Make it a great day because it's all about choice. Bye-bye for now.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in to Life Mastery Radio. Join Todd Allen and Jackie Bailey and their guests of leading authors, speakers, coaches, and entrepreneurs weekly at 10 a.m. Pacific. Learn to live a peaceful life with intentional mastery through stories and messages to support your well-being and most evocative dreams. Visit their website, www.lifemasteryradio.com. Join their mailing list and be notified about upcoming guests. That's lifemasteryradio.com.